I wanted to tell a story about Cindy Carrillo, who joined a board at the business school about 6 years ago and found herself one of 3 women on a board of 50. So, she took action. She said, hey, where are the women? And they said, well, that's a good point. Why don't you go find them? So she got this idea to start something called the Women's Council. She gathered up a bunch of peers and they thought that was a good idea. And now we have this beautiful group, here we are, of women helping each other develop leadership skills.
I'm David Heckman. I'm a professor in the Lead School of Business, and I am passionate about diversity and gender balance.
Our stories seem to have a common component, this subplot of coping with unconscious bias.
The entire culture has a pro-white male bias. We're addicted to white men.
I was hired into this leadership development program. There were 3 other guys who were hired into this program as well, and at a year, everybody got a raise. Well, a year came and went, and I hadn't gotten a raise, even though I had all the same skills as all the guys. I actually was trained in multiple positions, where some of them only were trained in one position. My boss really liked me. I was getting good reviews. I couldn't figure out why I didn't get the raise.
I decided to ask for a raise. I went in armed with all my facts and figures, confident that my boss would praise my efforts and give me a substantial raise without even hesitating.
So I went in, I talked to my boss, and I said, what's it gonna take to get a raise? I've been here a year, what's going on? I didn't really take the hint that I was asking for a raise.
Instead, he ripped me up one side and down the other, telling me that, yeah, sales were up, but there were considerable costs that were associated with increased sales. And as such, how dare I ask for a raise? Didn't I know that all the profits were being put back into the business?
So I went home really upset, and I talked to my dad, and he said, Dad, I don't get it. Everybody else got a raise at a year, and I didn't, even though I'm more qualified than all of them.
We don't think people are truly equal. We look around the room and we don't see equality, we see differences, and we see some people as better. We put a higher price tag on the white guys.
And he goes, why don't you talk to your boss again and ask him if it's because you're a woman? And I was like, Dad, that's ridiculous. And he goes, what's the difference between you and those guys? And I was like, nothing. And he goes, you're a woman. And I was like, are you serious? And he was like, ask him.
By the time I left, I was completely and utterly destroyed. I felt stupid. And I felt all the air in my sails had completely deflated.
So I went in the next day and I asked my boss to talk to him again. And I said, I can't figure out why I'm not getting a raise. I would like a raise. Is it because I'm a woman? Obviously he freaked out. He was like, no, I hadn't realized you'd been here a year, this and that. Well, I got a call from the CEO the next day apologizing to me personally and offering me retro pay from my 1-year mark, and the same raise as all the other guys got.
For nearly 2 decades, whenever I thought about that job and the day I dared ask for a raise, inside, I simply cringe. What I find most interesting is that I never mentioned it to anyone until a chilly winter late afternoon sitting around a table with Julie and a few of the other amazing Wild Summit women, and the story just poured out of me out of nowhere.
Got to be about 6:30 p.m. The CFO was sitting there and he looked up and he said, well, Sandy, you need to go. You're excused from the meeting. I was like, why? What did I do wrong? He said, no, you have to go home and take care of your kids. And when I was driving home, I was like, well, why me? I had a stay-at-home husband. I didn't need to leave. He didn't ask any of the men if they had to go home and take care of their kids, but he asked me.
No one has ever told me that, ever. I've got 3 kids too. They just like, oh, you're a dad.
And over the years, I've thought about that a lot, and it's something that I attribute to, I call it the Hollywood effect. In Hollywood, you don't see CEOs that are women. How many movies have you ever seen where there's a CEO who's a woman? CEOs look like Michael Douglas or Richard Gere.
It's really inefficient to have all of our top leaders come from just 30% of the population.
They don't look like me. They don't look like a girl who grew up in the projects, who's Hispanic, who's kind of fought her way into a technical role. They don't look like me. So when people see people like me, they think wife, they think mother, they think grandmother, they think girlfriend. They don't think, hey, she could be a really powerful person. And getting past that unintentional bias, it really is a struggle that the women face.
The state-of-the-art research on gender bias is broken. We do not have this figured out. The economists project it's going to stay the same for about 500 years, the pay gap, the power gap. So if you're okay with that, then just keep doing what you're doing. But if you're not okay with that, which I know you're not and none of us are, then we've got to try some new stuff to try to chip away and work toward equality.
We can only change what's happening in the moment. And this group has lots of moment-by-moment opportunities.
So how do we change these non-conscious biases? Well, we heard from Zayo. They started doing the bzz, censoring speech that puts women down. That's one really creative idea. I'm sure you guys are all going to get out there and do a lot more creative ideas.
I keep learning more and more when I work with the Wild Summit and other causes I'm involved with that women are badass and they need to be involved in more things because they're only going to make stuff better. There's absolutely no reason that we shouldn't be heard.
Start taking notes. And then next week, next month, next year, go back and read those notes because I think you'll be surprised at the powerful things you're hearing around you.
Today's going to be a great day at Wild, and we're going to make a big impact on the people around us.
Had the opportunity throughout the year to meet a lot of people who are involved in the summit in some way. I've been really big fans of them, so I expect it'll be sort of a fangirl moment for me.
I'm Rebecca Rose, and I'm not running for anything, but I approve this message.
I'm Meredith Maney, and I'm not running for president yet, and I approve this message.
My name is Jan West. We put together a kick-ass program, and I approve this message.
So before this difficult conversation or stressful meeting, what you want to do is, you've already done your homework, you want to breathe, you want to open your lungs, you want to smile, you want to raise those positive hormones, and you want to depress those negative hormones. And you want to figure out who your best superhero is. Mine is Wonder Woman. So you take the Wonder Woman pose, you breathe, you smile, and you kick some ass.